ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise and thanks is for Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is Al-Halim. Al-Halim is the one who is the most forbearing. He sees us do sins day and night. He sees us do sins day and night using the faculties He has given us, the eyes, nose, mouth, hands, etc. And He still lets us off and gives us another chance and gives us another chance and another chance to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How merciful, how glorious is He subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the month of Ramadan is an ideal time to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a time to recharge our batteries. And when we think about the month of Ramadan, what do you think? If I say Ramadan, what are you going to think? What comes to your mind? Fasting. Jazakallah khair. Fasting. That's the thing that comes to our mind when Ramadan is mentioned. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned Ramadan in the Quran, as far as I know, once. Ramadan is mentioned in the Quran once, as far as I know. But it's interesting to see what's connected with that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, شهر رمضان الذي, I'm going to stop there actually. The month of Ramadan in which what? Have a guess. In which what?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness? Okay, I'll continue. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan in which was revealed the Quran. This is the month of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with Ramadan, He connected the Quran. It shows how important the Quran is. The month of Ramadan in which was revealed the Quran, a guidance for mankind and clear proofs for the guidance and the criterion. So my brothers and sisters, the Quran, the Ramadan is the month of the Quran. Yes, we fast, of course, we have to fast. But it's the month in which the Quran was revealed. And this month, the month of Ramadan, we should be coming back to the Quran. And then having a plan to keep the Quran a part of our life for the rest of our life. In another surah, Surah Al-Qadr, which we learn about the night of power, the night of decree, it starts off, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Verily, we have sent it down in the night of Al-Qadr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't even mention the Quran here. Allah mentioned it. Indeed, we have sent it. This shows the importance of the Quran. We don't even have to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't have to even mention the Quran. But everybody knows when we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it down, we all know what that it is. It's the Quran. And the Quran, we all know, it's a reminder. This is a reminder for myself. Maybe what I'm going to tell you, you already know, or I mentioned some of it the last time I did a talk here. But وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind, for verily the reminder benefits the believers. The reminder benefits the believers. It will benefit me, inshallah, mentioning some of the things I've already mentioned, and it will benefit you listening to those things you already know. So the book, this Quran, it is the direct word of Allah. It's the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the best book. Go to any other book in the world, the Quran is the best book to study, the best book to memorize, the best book to understand, the best book to implement. And it is our formula for the success of this dunya and the akhirah. If we want to know what the syllabus is to live by, then we open the criterion, the Quran. It gives us our answers. It is a miracle in itself, and that's another talk in itself. And the topic of the talk was what should be our relationship with the Quran. So I want to mention a hadith that I think answers this question. The Prophet ﷺ said, اقرأوا القرآن فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه. The Prophet ﷺ said, read the Quran, for verily it will come on the day of standing as an intercessor for its companion. Yeah? Read the Quran, for verily it will come on the day of standing as an intercessor for its companion. I want to mention two things from this hadith. An intercessor. It will argue for the person, it will speak on behalf of the person who used to recite the Quran. We've been told here, recite the Quran, just don't leave it. Just don't leave it on your shelves for 11 months, and then when Ramadan comes, blow the dust off, and then take it out of its compartment, and then start reciting it, and then put it away. This is not what the Quran was for. It is to understand, but we'll come on to that inshallah. But just reading the Quran, it's going to come on the Day of Judgment, and it's going to argue on our behalf. And I'll give you an example of what an intercessor is. What is an intercessor? Imagine you're living in a land and there's a king, and you have done some sort of crime, or it looks like you've done some sort of crime, and the king, he slaps you into prison. So now you're stuck in prison, and the king doesn't want to listen to your story. I'm just giving a human example here. And you are in prison, you're stuck in prison, you happen to know a friend of the king. In fact, you don't just happen to know him, he's your best friend from school. So you know this guy, so you get sort of summon him, you call for him, and you mention to him, he finds out that you're his best friend, he's in prison, what's going on here? He says, don't worry about it, I'll go and speak to the king. He goes to the king and he mentions to the king, look, my best friend from school, he's not like that, just let him go. He'll argue on your behalf, he'll speak on your behalf, until the king says, okay, free him. He's your friend, no problem, free him. That's an intercessor, the one who speaks on your behalf. Now imagine, on the Day of Judgment, the Quran comes and speaks on our behalf, that this person used to recite me day and night. He used to recite me after Fajr, he used to recite me when the people were asleep. He used to try to memorize me. He was always in contact with me, he always referred to me. Allah forgive him. How would that be if we followed the advice of the Prophet ﷺ to recite the Quran? So this should be our relationship, that we recite the Quran. Not only that we recite the Quran, look at the next part. It will come as an intercessor for who? Li-ashabi. What is ashabi? What is a sahaba? Sahaba is a companion of the Prophet ﷺ. Yes, we know that. Ashab is the plural, companions. So the Quran will come as an intercessor for who? For its companion. And this is inshallah the answer to the topic of the talk, to make the Quran as a companion of ours. How do we make the Quran as a companion of ours? What do we do to our best friend? We all have a BFF, okay? Is that what they call them nowadays, okay? Best friend forever or something, yeah? Okay, what do we do? When we're sad, we contact them. When we're happy, we tell them. We go out for a meal with them. We're always dealing, we always are giving them our time, always referring to them, always sharing our happiness with them, discussing any problems with them, taking advice from them. This is what a companion is. So this is how we need to be with the Quran. Where we struggle, we open the Quran, look for a solution. When we feel distressed, we open the Quran, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At night we do the tilawah of the Quran. We try to not only recitation of the Quran, but the Quran actually came as a guide. So if you want to study medicine and you have the syllabus in French, what will you do? What will you do? You'll try to understand, at least get a translation first, so you know what you need to study to get the pass, okay? But then what will you eventually also need to do? Try to understand the French language in order to understand what the syllabus is trying to tell you to do, okay? So number one, we need to try to at least understand, recite fantastic, but also it shouldn't end there. Some people's relationship with the Quran is that they just do the recitation and end off. This is not what the Quran was for, just to recite. It's to understand and then to implement in our lives. The Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and then teach it to others. The best of you, this is like the best of you, is the one who learns the Quran, then teaches it. So we have to understand that we need to at least get a translation, get a tafsir, understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, and that's the lowest thing we can do, the low thing. The high thing is attend classes where Arabic is taught. Attend classes where Quranic Arabic is taught. Learn the Arabic language. Try our best to learn it. So when the Imam is reciting the Quran in Salah, at least we've got some sort of idea of what he's reciting. And only when you understand, and I don't understand the Quran in Arabic fully, but when you understand certain verses, you realize the translation doesn't do justice. The translation only gives you a small little idea of what the Quran is saying. When you understand some of the verses in Arabic, then it gives you a bigger impact. And we wouldn't see that sweetness, we wouldn't realize that sweetness until we actually start learning the Arabic language. So it's a reminder for yourselves and myself that we need to really start learning the Arabic language to decode what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. So our relationship, as I was saying, with our best friends is we're always in contact with them. This is what we need to do with the Quran. Be in contact with the Quran, not just once a week. Not just once a week. We can't, like for example, a brother gave an example. He said, if you want to save up to buy a house, do you work just 2 hours a week? You're not going to do it. You work 2 hours in a week, you're not going to save up to buy a house. You need to work 5 days a week and keep it regular and save money, etc., and work at it and have a routine and a habit and work at it, really work at it. Then you can save enough money to buy a house or going towards buying a house. So with the Quran, if we want to be the people of the Quran, it's not just a once a week thing, but it's a regular, make this our best friend, make this our companion, so that on the Day of Judgment it will come as an intercessor. I'll give you an example of what is a close friend. Our mobile phones. Our mobile phones are very, very close friends of ours. We can't live with our mobile phone for 2.5 minutes. The famous thing that goes around, you see it on screenshots on your WhatsApp messages, is the WhatsApp message, last seen 2.5 minutes ago. But last seen for the Quran, 3 days ago. It shows us who are we the people of. There was a time when I would leave my mobile phone home and go outside, I didn't want it. But now, if I go anywhere in the car, I need to have my mobile phone with me because it contains messages, you can contact people, etc. But how are we with our phones? Even on these special nights of Ramadan, we have our phone there and we're reading the messages, and we can't live without our phone. That's how we should be with the Quran. Ideally, that we can't live without reciting the Quran every day. This is our relationship we should have with the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the good, He has put a lot of reward. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he mentioned to us that for every letter, you get 10 rewards. For every letter of the Quran, you get 10 rewards. For every letter. Alif Lam Mim, that's 30 there. Remember what I said last time? I said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I'm just doing this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Okay, this long. You get 30 rewards for saying that. Now I'll just say something from the Quran. Okay? I think this comes in the Quran. Minhu. That's it. 3 letters, same reward. How long did it take you to say that? Hardly anything. If I recite the Quran this long, the amount of time it took me to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, how much reward will you get? 10 times so many. 10 times so many. And this reward, it builds. The money that we earn in this world, we all know this. The money that we earn in this world is going to finish one day. Our car, our house, whatever we have, one day it's going to go to somebody else. What we take with us is the rewards, the salah, the zakah, the Quran. That's what's going to go with us and spend eternity with us, inshallah. Okay, and this Quran, there's about 300,000 letters as far as I did a little search, okay? 300,000 letters in the Quran. Times that by 10, you get 3.3 million rewards for reciting the Quran. And then add on top of that the additional benefit of Ramadan, which things are multiplied by, we don't know how much. We don't know by how much that reward will be multiplied. And on the Day of Judgment, it could make the difference, honestly, it could make the difference between Jannah and Jahannam. It could make the difference between burning in the hellfire and going into Jannah. It could make the difference between going in the lower Jannahs, where the things are smaller and less, etc., compared to the amazing top Jannahs, the higher Jannahs, Al-Firdaus. It could make the difference between us, living forever in Jannat Al-Firdaus, which is the top Jannah where the prophets will be, and that's where we want to be. May Allah give us that Jannah. Could make the difference between that Jannah and a lower Jannah somewhere, which you'll still be happy, but it's nowhere near the same thing. It's nowhere near this. You want to live for eternity in the lower Jannahs and enjoy it there, or you want to live eternally in the top Jannahs and enjoy it there. And these Qur'ans that we read in Ramadan, the Qur'an we read, it could send us, by the grace of Allah, with Allah's permission, send us up there to the top Jannahs. This is the dunya. We have 60, 70 years. Allahu A'lam, we may only have 5 minutes. But we have this little time in this dunya to make our akhirah. To use whatever we have in this dunya for the akhirah. And we've got this time, and this Qur'an is not only a syllabus but has so much reward in it. So the person who doesn't benefit from reciting the Quran and gaining Jannah, then surely he's lost so much. I give an advice to make the Quran accessible. Inshallah, I won't go over 30 minutes. Inshallah, 15 minutes is gone. Okay. One of the advices I give is to make the Quran accessible. I know this thing in the Pakistan culture we put the Quran in this gulaf, we call it, and wrap it around a few times, and then it goes on the top shelf where it's nice and clean, and nobody's going to touch it, and nobody's going to do anything bad to it, and nobody's going to face their back towards it. But what do we end up doing? We end up making the Quran inaccessible. It's no longer accessible anymore. First we have to stand on the chair. I'm giving a bit of an exaggeration here, but maybe it does happen some places. First we have to stand on a chair, go and pick the Quran from the top shelf, and then open it up, and then do this, and then put it down. Who's going to do that? But our phone is just here, just somewhere. So I'm not saying put the Quran on the floor anywhere, I'm saying put the Quran on the shelf, no problem, but make it accessible. Don't make it so high, and don't wrap it around so much where you're never going to read it. Keep it ready, keep it up, keep it in a accessible position, so whenever you feel, oh, I have 5 minutes, I'm waiting for somebody to come and pick me up, I've got 5 minutes, oh well, let me just read a bit of Quran and get some reward. So put it in sort of make it accessible. I want to speak about some of the virtues of the Quran, because the Quran is full of virtues, and we need to use this month of Ramadan to start our relationship with the Quran. So whenever we do a good deed, our hearts get purified. Whenever we read the Quran, whenever we act upon the Quran, whenever we make the Quran part of our lives, it's going to purify our heart. It's going to purify our heart. Just imagine you went to the doctors. After this talk, you go to the doctors, and the doctor tells you you've got some cancer growth on your heart. You've got some cancer growth on your heart. What are you going to do? You're going to turn around and say, no problem, I'm going to work tomorrow and everything's nice and easy, I'm going to go and play a bit of PlayStation here, I'm going to do. Your life is going to completely change. It's going to completely change. You're going to do, you've got a certain amount of time to live. It's spread. You may have only got 2 weeks to live. What would you do? What would you pay to get that heart fixed? You'd pay everything that you had to get that heart fixed, to get that operation done, to get that tumour removed, etc. Because you want a healthy heart physically. But then what about our heart spiritually? We may have sick hearts, we may have dead hearts, we may have hearts that are, getting blacker and blacker and blacker with the sins. And we've got an opportunity to cure that heart, and that heart will get cured, inshallah, with recitation of the Quran. With recitation, when doing good actions, the heart improves, the condition of the heart increases, it gets better. So it's heart surgery for us. Following Islam, reading the Quran, we're doing good to our inside and we don't even know. We don't even know the physical effects of the Quran on us. There was a brother, a famous brother, and he was visiting his baby in hospital. His baby had some problem. He was visiting his baby in the hospital, and he started reciting the Quran with the baby in his hand, etc. Rough meaning. And while he was reciting the Quran, etc., etc. When he finished, the nurse told him, the nurse didn't understand he was reciting the Quran. The nurse said, when you were singing that song, when you were doing that singing, the heart rate, the babies in the ward, not just his baby, but the heart and rate of the babies, it all relaxed, it all went nice while he was reciting the Quran. That's just some physical thing. That it will soothe, it's a cure, it's a shifa. The Quran, if you have a problem, we are told, recite the Quran on yourselves, etc. So this is the Quran, the speech of Allah is it's not like the speech of a person. We're talking Quran here. And we know, if you want to go to the top of Jannah, one way to do it is become a hafiz of the Quran. I know it's not that easy, okay? But one of the ways is become a hafiz of the Quran, because the ulama say, we know there's many levels of Jannah, many levels of Jannah. Some of the ulama said, you know how many levels of Jannah there are? The amount of verses in the Quran. Because the hafiz will be told, recite and go higher. And his final destination will be where he ended his recitation. So the scholars say for every ayah there is a level of paradise, for every ayah. Until he goes to An-Nas, he goes to the top. So one way to get yourselves, to try to get your children to the best, you want to invest in their akhirah and get them the best property. We invest in our children to make them doctors so that they can live in some nice place in a part of the town, some nice place, some 5-6 bedroom house, everything, you've got everything there. you want them to have a nice life. If you really want them to have a proper nice life forever, try to get them to become Huffaz of the Quran, because they will ascend those levels and get to the top, inshallah. And it's also a reminder for us, it's never too old. There are people who start doing hifz at 50, maybe even more, 70, and they become Hafiz of the Quran. In my Arabic class where I studied with Ustadh Ismail, there's a doctor, alhamdulillah, how old he's retired, but he's the best out of the class. He was the best in the whole class. So age isn't a factor. It's only a factor if you let it become a factor. If you put it down to yourself and say, you know what, I'm too old, I can't do it, you've already defeated yourself. But if you have that belief you can do it, then you can become like that doctor who, alhamdulillah, excelled and was the best in the class as far as I remember. Okay? Reading Surah Mulk regularly will intercede for a person. Reading Surah Mulk, you know, تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. That surah, the first surah of 29 juz, 29 spara, it's that first surah. If you recite that, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said that it will save a person from the torment of the grave. It will save a person from the punishment of the grave. And you know how scary the grave is, where we will be powerless to do anything. And if we did some good deed and it comes in use then, what a fantastic thing. We spent our life doing something beneficial. So this is something good. We can maybe spend this month of Ramadan learning Surah Mulk. Another thing is the Prophet ﷺ, he asked his companions, and this is things you already know, these are things you already know, but do we do them, including myself? The Prophet ﷺ said, could any one of you recite a third of the Quran in one night? Okay, so this, they were like, it's too difficult. Who amongst us can do that, O Messenger of Allah? The Prophet ﷺ said, Allahul Ahad as-Samad is 1/3 of the Quran. Qul huwa Allahu Ahad, Allahu Samad. Hear this surah? It's 1/3 of the Quran. Imagine the reward you'll be getting for this. Imagine how high those stations in Jannah will be going as a result. And then you tell somebody else to do it, he does it, you're getting it for free. You're going to get the same copy of the reward for free. You're making your akhirah with the Quran. 3 times you get the reward of reciting the Quran. So is it something that we should be doing? Of course, if we can do it, we should be able to do it. It's so easy on the tongue. It'll take 1 minute to do, maybe, and you've got the reward of the Quran. Do that in Ramadan, do that on Laylatul Qadr. You're laughing. Could be laughing all the way, as I said, to the bank. Laughing all the way, because we made use of the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever recites Qul huwa Allahu Ahad 10 times, Allah will build for him a house in paradise. If I told you recite 10 times Qul huwa Allahu Ahad, you're going to get that 2-bedroom terrace house over there, with a small garden, with a small yard that's got cracks in it. Who wouldn't do it? I'd be doing it night and day. Because it means you're going to own the block after a bit and then you don't have to work. What an investment in this dunya. What an investment in this dunya. Then what about this house in Jannah that we don't even know about? We don't know how beautiful, how huge it will be. Just the tent outside of the house in Jannah will be like a hollow pearl. So high, so huge. These are the investments we need to make. That doesn't mean we don't make money. We need to make money. We need to live. We need to, help the Muslims and help the Muslim causes, etc. No problem. You can even be a millionaire. You can even be a billionaire. As long as it doesn't make you miss your fajr in the morning. As long as it doesn't make you miss your asr at work. As long as it doesn't make you miss your Jumu'ah. And as long as it doesn't make you feel, I'm the man. Yeah? And feel pride in your heart, look at these poor people, they don't know anything, I'm the man. As long as it doesn't make you do that, then go be a billionaire, no problem. And then help the masajid and help the Muslim projects, help the Muslims around the world, fantastic. So this is what Abdul Rahman ibn Auf did. Uthman ibn Affan did. They were the millionaire Sahabas. But they got their Jannah by spending and spending and spending in Allah's cause. The Prophet ﷺ, Abu Hurairah reported that the Prophet ﷺ heard a man reciting Qul huwa Allahu Ahad, and he said, it is his right. So the Sahaba was like, O Messenger of Allah ﷺ, what is his right? The Prophet ﷺ said, Jannah is his right. The one who recites Qul huwa Allahu Ahad. This doesn't mean recite Qul huwa Allahu Ahad and then read, and then don't read Salah and don't do all these things. We need to be acting according to the Quran at the same time. Otherwise the threat is there, but the rewards are here, as mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I just want to mention a few more. I still have 5 minutes left, inshallah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever reads 10 verses at night will not be recorded as the negligent. So if we don't want to be recorded as the negligent, then just 10 verses of the Quran at night. Just 10 verses of the Quran at night. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Add them two together and it's 11 verses. We're not being asked to do much. We can't recite all the hours Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us in the day, all the free time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. If we can't recite قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ at night, then do you understand we truly are negligent if we can't even do that. So just 10 verses at night, we're not negligent. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever recites 100 verses in the night will be recorded as a devout person, basically. 100 verses and you'll be recorded as a devout person. Would you like to be raised up on the Day of Judgment? Non-devout there, devout people here. Wouldn't you just like to be in the devout people? 100 verses at night. Most of you might know Surah Yasin. Surah Yasin has 83 verses, you're nearly there. You can add on to that Amma Yatasa'alun, 40 verses there, you hit 100. Or you could do Surah Sajda, Surah Mulk, which most people do at nights anyway. That's 60 verses. Add on to that Surah Amma Yatasa'alun, 40 verses, you're done, 100. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't asking us for the world. We normally recite Surah Mulk and Surah Sajda anyway because these are, Surah Sajda is one of the sunnahs, and Surah Mulk is good to recite at night. So, could we make ourselves and elevate ourselves from those people who just recited 10 verses every night to those who recite 100 verses? And then could we keep that up for the rest of, the months after Ramadan also, and be written as those who are the devout people? I want to mention one more hadith. Last hadith. Would you like to be one of Allah's own people? Wouldn't we just like to be one of Allah's own people? Of course we would. Prophet ﷺ, he said, verily Allah has his own people among mankind. Now wouldn't we just want to be in those people? Verily Allah has his own people among mankind. They said, O Messenger of Allah, ﷺ, who are they? He said, ﷺ, they are the people of the Quran. Allah's own people and those who are closest to him. So if we want to be of Allah's people and those closest to him, then we need to be people of the Quran, where we learn the Quran, we learn the tajweed, we try to learn the Arabic, we implement the Quran, we recite the Quran, we try telling other people about the Quran, and that's what we do in our life. We become the people of the Quran, we become Allah's own people. Wouldn't we like to be raised up on the Day of Judgment? This section of people here is Allah's own people, the ones who are close to him. Wouldn't we like that? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't asking for the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala isn't asking for the world, just some consistency we could do. We need to obviously try to live our life according to the Quran, and we can be one of those. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from those. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our recitation of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our Ramadan. Subhanallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.